We are ready to call the meeting to order.
We are ready to call the meeting to order.
Okay, 5:34 in the evening. And members that are here, do we take that call the roll?
Yeah, we got yourself, Mark, Juanita, Natisha, and Anthony. So we've got a quorum established. We're all set.
Okay. And I don't see anyone here from the public for public comment.
And we didn't receive anything by Friday at 2.
Okay. Review and approval of the prior minutes of August 20th, 2024.
Those are sent out to you ahead of time and in the packets. If you have any questions, be happy to address them.
Motion. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays. Pass. Report of Executive Director.
All right, I'll pass these around. It was a little bit of a busy month, so I'm sorry I didn't give these into your packets sooner. There are those. Okay. All right. You want a copy, Will? Team knows what they're up to. So, busy month in August. Some of the things that have changed on this report since the last time is we are giving you some better numbers on real estate transactions and applications and outreach. So, busy time. 20 applications received, 26 walk-in visits, website visits, 3,700 people come to the website. A little activity on the YouTube channel from this, but nothing really. August is sort of a typical summer month, moving along. We did have the 4 properties we entered into contract. We closed the 1 sale. We acquired the 1 property. That's the that was 37 Homestead. Thank you. Will, do you want to walk through what's happening with the development clusters?
Before he does that, I have
Yeah.
a question. Do we track the entire journey of someone that's on our website? So do we know where they end up, like what they take through, where they end up?
I'd have to take a look at the analytics and see if it'll show me through mapping where people go.
Okay.
But I could tell you, like what are the most visited pages, how much time people spend on
Okay.
pages, if you'd like a little bit more
Yes,
insight there.
Yes,
Sure.
thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with our development clusters. The first one is 1st and 2nd Street. This month we had, Sean and I had 2 important meetings, one with HCR in the state and the other with city planning, with HCR to discuss capital stacks and determine what the best path forward is. At that meeting, we kind of discussed different ways to break it up, either as one larger project or as different phases with some different opportunities for funding, whether it be federal home funding, which just this year came out with a new construction grant for up to four buildings, or AHOP, which is a much larger project. The subsidies are a little bit different for each one, and what other subsidies you can stack on that are different for each one. So, and then we also went talked to planning about the process that we would have to go through, whether it be going through the full planning board or a minor development review, which would be internal. It looks like for this one, we'd be able to do a more internal review because it's scattered site as compared to like one large project. So just next to that, Henry Johnson Boulevard, it looks like Home Leasing has received their approvals for their project from city planning. And they just extended their funding period for another 12 months. So they're still working through that. They just got updated numbers for their project that they plan to discuss with HCR, the state. That's their next steps on that. Ontario Street in Bradford, the cluster of 3 buildings, 2 lots. We have an action on that tonight, actually, that we'll discuss. And then I attended a codes walk with neighbors and city officials this month to discuss the maintenance of the building and some of the concerns with the neighbors in that area as a whole, including the properties. And then we just heard from Regan Development that they are in full design and engineering mode. They plan to have enough to go through their approvals by the end of the year with city planning, in the hopes that they will be able to submit a tax credit application next fall. And then the South End cluster, I just kind of had a quick update with them to discuss the approval timeline, the city planning on their end. They're looking either in October or November for those approvals. And then it's really working with, continuing to work with HCR on approvals for their funding. That would be another tax credit project. I believe that's all.
All right, thank you, Will. I want to just, I needed to back up, and in the August report too, you'll see, we're working on the South End Workforce Development event. I talked to the event planner. We're having a slow response from participants involved in that. And so we had shifted gears. We were looking for employers to get involved. We shifted gears and we're approaching Hudson Valley Community College and SUNY Schenectady Community College to bring in some of their community ed instructors to teach classes connected to workforce skills, and then approaching employers to be sponsors. So the ask to the employers was different because we were having a hard time committing folks to participate. So we were taking a Disney World approach, as I like to call it, where we had these areas and these attractions sponsored by the employers. The price from the school district was a little high, so we shifted gears, thanks to Erica, to the Howe Library. But again, getting the instructors from the colleges is slow going. So we're going to push that event back a little bit. So we may have to find an indoor location. So I'm going to talk to the county about maybe the MVP Arena atrium or something. I've got to figure out what the options are out there. The school district, it's about $6,000 to use the school district. That was, I think, right there. That was the number that I think Susan got, was about $6,000 for use of the space. So maybe my ask was a little off, but we did pivot on that with just that first number. So
And which space with the school district?
get them. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Have we approached any charter schools?
We did not approach charter schools because we had free space at the library we could have used. But it was a different configuration. We had to make some changes to be able to accommodate it, but we'll keep moving on it.
How many square feet do you need to do what you want to do?
Well, there's a mix of it. We need to be able to bring in the 2 mobile training classrooms from SUNY Schenectady, which are trailer-based classrooms. So they need to be able to set up outside, and then indoors, depending on the instructors and what they're teaching, will depend on how much space we need. Do we need a 10 by 10 booth, or do we need something a little bit more? Where some hiccups with the Department of Labor and how the money can be used has also been challenging as we've been trying to finalize the contract with them. So we're working on it. I have maybe a conference call with the Department of Labor the next day or two to go over the contract again.
Have you looked at Eagle Point out on Western Avenue?
No, because we have to do this in the South End. The grant funds are specifically targeted towards an event in the South End.
Well, Albany Community Charter School, there's a field across from them.
Yeah, we can take a look at it. I think we gotta identify, we know where we can land at this point, which was the first hurdle. And now that we've figured out where we can go, we've got to get everybody else on board. And eventually we'll get the pieces that fit together. So a lot of different folks to talk to.
But you have to talk to Kip in regards to them.
Yeah. Erica, anything on your end you wanna? Yeah. All right. So that's it
All
for.
right, for number 5, review and approval of financial statements. You want to take us through it before we motion?
Yeah, so You got in here my memo to the finance committee, which was revised for the full board, just walking through the balance sheet and the profit and loss like we did last month. So I'll highlight that. When you go through, the first set of pages are going to be the balance sheets for the corporation, which shows what we own and what we owe, and that's as of August 31st of 2024. You'll see we continue to have a strong cash position due to the sales over the years, but as we discussed in the past, those financial challenges for the corporation have a lot to do with the declining property inventory. But we are trying to get creative with that. We did a marketing campaign for our landlocked lots. And we already have somebody, we did get an application in from there. So we're reaching out to neighbors where we've got properties and being a little more on top of that. So that's helped us out. It's not going to close the gap, but it's heading in the right direction. At the end of August, we had more than $3 million in cash on hand, with more than $1.5 million due in grant receivables. Again, the grant receivables piece, I've said at prior meetings, as we spend down, we go back to the state, we get reimbursed for that. So that's how that number will shift. It's going to be mostly tied directly to expenses, but there are some of those items in the grant which are tied to staff time. So we do recover some staff costs for staff time. And that's on line 15. Our total assets for including property is more than $7 million. That'll be on line 25 of the balance sheets. Moving down to the liability, we have approximately 1.9 million in total liability, line 56, and that includes accounts payable of more than 47,000. That's on line 38. We have that accounts payable number because we don't pay bills the minute they come in. We time them so that they're getting paid closer to their due date. So we're taking advantage of net 30 terms. For example, usually on like net 30, we're paying net 28. We have deferred grant revenue of more than $1.4 million. Our current loss for 2024, as of the end of August, is about $358,000. That's up from $272,000 last month. Again, the operating loss stems from the declining real property inventory, and that's really had an impact on our sales revenue. We'll see some improvements to revenue once we get 48 and 50 Second Ave closed. We have 147 Melrose to close. So there are some larger price tag properties that still have to sell. So in some ways, some of this is going to be closed up once those sales hit. Profit and loss statement. So that is our financial situation over a period of time. So I'll focus here on the year-to-date period since our budget doesn't plan for anything less than an annual basis. So our revenues appear to be down. However, a lot of that has to do with the grants that become claimed as we expend our funds on approved and qualified activities. See, our total revenue on line 24 for the period is well under budget. That's due to grant funds to be realized. We had revenues of $755,000, which is under the $3.4 million budgeted. It's a shortfall of about $2.7 million. We'll make up $1.6 million through the end of the year with the claims we make against state grants. Some of that is program income, but most of that is tied to the expenses paid for acquisition, stabilization, demolition, renovation of properties and inventory. Our property sales income, as I mentioned before, is behind with less than $7,000 realized in a budget that anticipates $583,000. So again, we'll make up some of the ground on that is 48 and 50 Second Avenue. Together, that's $350,000 in sales. And 147 Melrose, that's another $145,000 in sales. So if you do the math quickly, that's $495,000 on that $583,000 that we were expected this year. So we'll keep chipping away at it. But our expenses, we've reduced our payroll through attrition by about 50% for the year versus budgeted. You'll see that 50% get whittled down a little bit more as we just continue to finish out through the rest of the year. So that is my report for you on our finances.
All right, hearing nothing else on any questions, any motion
Is there
Motion.
or question?
a question real quick?
Yeah, we do a motion in a second, then we can go to questions.
Okay,
Second.
motion and second? Okay.
Discussion.
Do you anticipate any kind of surprises with prices going up and stuff like that?
I don't. I mean, I think we probably hit the worst of it. And I think you can see what's happening at the federal level with interest rates. So last week when I was presenting, I was talking about producer price index and how that, and we're talking about to a bunch of economic developers. I'm talking about how watching the trends in producer price index is usually an indicator for us that things are not, or the direction that they're going to head. I think we're starting to see that tail out a little bit. So if you look at the chart, it's pretty remarkable to see what producer price index, and that's just the amount that the wholesale market, I'll say, is paying for goods and services. And you see a steady increase with inflation, but we hit, going into 2020, and that number just takes right off, and that's where we are today, is stuck on that. So I think for our construction projects, we have ways to mitigate that because some of those monies we can get in from other sources. As for the day-to-day operations of the land bank, I don't think that we see too much of a hit there because we're not buying a lot in the space of commodities. Hiring will be interesting. I don't know if you have read the recent reports, but the younger generations think they should be making a lot more money than they are. So
let me tell you about
Us older
that.
ones do.
It's not beating up.
The older ones do.
yeah.
They could convince us that
Yeah.
the
All right.
self-worth is what they're using words like.
Yeah.
I'll call the question. If there's no more questions.
Okay. No more questions. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Hi.
All right. No one else? Opposite, so we're good. Report of committees?
Yeah, so we'll walk through the different actions that came out of committees this month. First is the Finance Committee. There are two items really for the Finance Committee this month to look over. One is considering an amendment of the sublease and shared services agreement with the Advanced Albany County Alliance. That's for this space here. And then the second one is a lease upstairs on the 6th floor. So let me tell you a little bit about what's happening. The Alliance, with some of the changes that are happening at the county with the, like for example, the St. Rose Authority, I guess is the shorthand for it, but the state authority is set up to help solve the future of the St. Rose campus. I will be part of the Alliance. They've had a couple of vacancies that they're starting to fill. When I first got here, one of the first discussions that Kevin O'Connor and I had was about space here. And there's a lot of unused space. We talked about having to maybe add an office in the front, breaking up the kitchen, creating 2 offices there. After going back and forth about it, I said, rather than go through construction, we'll see if there's any space that we might take advantage of. And trying to maintain the business hub concept here at 111, we did talk to the landlord here at Peacock. There was space on the 7th floor, and then there was space on the 6th floor. The advantage to that is gives them a little bit more breathing room, gives us a little bit of breathing room. The 6th floor actually will reduce the amount of common unused space, and so we'll have a much more tighter footprint. And so we're not paying for space that we're not using. The rate is a little higher just because rates have gone up, and I think there's a little bit of a discount on making sure the space is filled out for, making sure there's a tenant in here. I don't think it looks good to have first floor vacant space. So we'll go upstairs, but we do have a cost savings that, after everything already nets out, once we total up the numbers, we'll actually save money in the space upstairs that we're currently paying down here. We'll move our internet service provider. We'll change the internet service provider. We have a couple more months left with Crown Castle. Price isn't that great. Spectrum's already in the suite upstairs. We're going to go to them. We're going to cut that bill in half. And so we're taking advantage of some of these changes, also bringing some savings along the way. So those are the two items. The amendment to the sublease would terminate the sublease here between the land bank and the Alliance. Would modify the shared services agreement. Really doesn't really modify much of anything other than we're going to take our copier with us. We'll still share the expenses of the receptionist up front because this will still be a front door for both of us. They'll still allow us to use the meeting room that is no charge or part of our shared service with the receptionist. And then we also they have the contract for the parking spaces that we use. And so rather than break that up, they're just going to invoice us. So we'll still be working together, but we'll have a little bit more elbow room around the table.
So with that, then we have a resolution before us.
You got two there.
Yeah.
One
You
on the
want
sub.
those together or you want independent? Do you have a number for these or?
We can do those separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got a resolution approving and to amend and restated shared services agreement and sublease termination. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No one against? Okay. That one is approved. The next resolution is a resolution approving lease for office space. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, Mark. So we go Mark, motion. Tisha, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
No one against?
Alright, so in October, we'll let you know if we'll be down here, but our main office will be up on the 6th floor.
We have the elevators out here to go up.
Yeah, elevators out here to go up, and then we'll have windows. Staff will have, I think I think everybody's going to appreciate having some natural light in their office space too. So thank you for that. Well, we're gonna see how it works out. We'll have access to this space down here if we need to. You know, this group could easily fit upstairs into our office space, but I think for the time being, we're gonna pop down here and do those meetings and see how it shakes out.
Acquisition disposition.
All right, two items. First item is Salville property. We did
That there, Will?
Yep. We usually do the motion first.
Yeah, we do the motion first, that way we can go into discussion.
So you want a motion to consider the resolution for sales of real property?
Yes, please, a motion and a second.
Second.
So only one sales recommendation this month. It is 544 North Pearl Street in the city of Albany. A vacant lot in between two existing residential buildings. There's a photo right there to your right. This is a property that we have had difficulty selling. We put it in our Lots for Less program, which is a program meant to heavily discount the purchase price and the closing costs for buyers. This applicant does not live specifically in the neighborhood, so does not qualify for the Lots for Less program. However, he is close. He has purchased properties from us before and is a good steward of those properties. So we thought it would be a good disposition, but to take it out of the Lots for Less program, so this applicant would end up paying the closing costs. But we thought it would, because of the market for this lot, we haven't been able to sell it. The offer amount seemed, for staff was okay, A&D agreed. So yeah, that's the only one we have for this month.
We have a motion on the floor and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
No one against? That one is moved.
In the future, when an applicant has purchased land property from us in the past, can we also have like a picture of what the current state of the past property is and what it looks like?
Yeah, we can accomplish that, right?
Next action?
Yep.
Okay. We got a resolution before us approving the amendment to the master development agreement with Reagan Development. Motion? Second?
Second.
Okay, so this would be an amendment to remove two properties from our master development agreement with Reagan Development. And that would be 135 Ontario Street, a two-story brick building on the west side of Ontario Street. This would be the two-story building compared to the one-story former Projects Drive building. And then the adjacent property to it, which used to be group housing, 260 Bradford Street. The reason that we would like to amend the NDA is because Regan stated that they don't, they could not make the numbers work for the rehab or demolition of the buildings in their project. We would not let them get out of the agreement until we were able to find someone else who could, who had the capacity and the skill level to take on those two properties. So over the past few months, we have been working with a local developer who's done land bank properties. Acquisition disposition recommended that we at least make the application for those properties public for another month. So we'll see that sales recommendation next month. And we would not sign this amendment until we have that approval. So there would be no gap in between when Regan stops paying the maintenance costs and the next developer starts. So yeah, that's where we are with this one right now.
And so we post, after the committee met on this, we posted this the same day to make it back available. Will did some outreach. Have we heard from any other developers interested in this?
I have not. There's been some people who've reached out.
So we did an initial deadline just to stay consistent as of today, but we'll extend that out for another week. We'll revisit it, and we'll extend it out for another week, and we'll revisit it. The goal is to bring this back into the committee in October with a final path. So we'll give this one time to sit out there.
Haven't we had this property once before, a couple of years ago?
Well, we still have it. It was put into the Ontario Street cluster redevelopment with Regan, with the developer. So they would do both sides of the street. But the challenge they had was these two properties opposite 130 Ontario Street presented a challenge for them where they said the numbers didn't work.
Except whoever wanted to put a daycare in there.
That was their initial plan. We were gonna put the daycare into the other building, into 130 Ontario.
Okay.
Was it the redevelopment of it or the environmental removal and demolition of the property that made the price?
Definitely the environmental.
But I thought we had a buyer back then. The holdup was there was a lot there and they didn't think that the lot should be next to the daycare.
Well, we're separating these two because the developer's saying that they can't make this project work with that. So.
Yeah, but the Regan project would not really take out any of the aspects that would have been in the overall project. The daycare will be a little bit smaller, a smaller footprint, but that's about it. There's a community hub aspect which won't be affected at all. There's still, I think, 1,000 square feet of commercial space that wouldn't be affected at all. How they're gonna reconcile that is city planning has actually suggested they go up an additional floor to 4 floors on that.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where, Regan's model for development, these two structures don't really fit for them once they got inside and saw the conditions and had their engineer and architect look at things. We have another local developer who's not really too afraid of tackling this one. So I think that was, where we're headed with it. It was potentially gonna be a stumbling block for Regan moving forward. And so rather than letting that linger out there, just through my networking and discussions and just talking with people, we had, found somebody who was interested in it. And so we felt it was okay to pull it back because we have somebody who will step in to take this project on. But at the committee's request, we cast that net a little wider to make sure we haven't missed somebody along the way and to give everybody a fair opportunity.
Is the
Have you ever
property
heard
now
that
in Regan's
cliche
hands?
that says one monkey doesn't
No, it's like
stop
still in
the
ours.
show?
Okay.
What's that?
You ever heard the cliche, one monkey doesn't stop the show?
I have not.
Okay, if Regan couldn't do it, move on to somebody else.
That's what, yeah,
That's what I think we're doing.
yeah, that's the direction we're going in. We just had to find the other actor to get involved. I don't want to call him a part of the circus or anything.
Were they at the table, before? Did they show interest before? The other developer? No. Okay.
And they're aware of the scope.
You've been in
An
it.
executive session.
They've been in the building. I have been in the building with them.
Term changes.
With others.
It's a tough,
And so you don't, so if I'm hearing correctly, if we don't find someone, you have someone in your back pocket.
I
we,
think we're going that way.
well, we wouldn't make this change if we didn't know we had somebody who was interested and capable of doing the project. And so that's why we're asking to amend that master development agreement to be able to do that. Like I said, the committee just wanted to make sure that we were not showing favoritism or doing anything that wasn't less than above par as this board operates. And so, that's why we went back out just to make sure there's nobody else out there that was looking at this, that just because Sean called somebody and had a conversation with somebody, that person didn't just benefit from that. Everybody has a chance to hear that we're rethinking this one.
So the question I have is if this gets approved, and I'm sorry that I haven't read this through with that kind of detail, that it doesn't absolve them from their responsibility to do maintenance until another developer is acquired, or how does the timing of that work?
This is going to allow us to, so we're not gonna sign anything until we have everything lined up. So we're essentially, we don't have a break in the process here.
So there's still, Regan Development is still responsible for the going forward, and then what will you need to move forward if you do land something that can take that project forward from, do you need a cutover from the board to do it, or will you need some sort of resolution to authorize you to move forward based on?
We're gonna have to bring it back to the board to approve
Okay.
who that is. But this allows us at least to get this side of it moving along and not, we could run these concurrently, that was our initially our plan, but we're gonna get this accomplished first, so we're ready to go and move when the next piece comes down and is ready to move along with it. And I think that's what we're still working out. Well, we'll see what the general interest is out there. But the first party that we're talking to about this, I think, next month, if we wanted to go into discussion, could we do an executive session because it's subject to a contract?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking, to the extent we're gonna get into more details about what might change, that's
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah,
right
we do
for
that.
executive.
Yeah, so that's why I'm being a little vague right now because I don't want anything to impact our ability to negotiate a fair contract.
That's my concern. I don't want
Yes.
to get into negotiations at this point, but I don't want to stop you from being able to move forward
Mhm.
to do it, but I don't want to open the can of worms that we're renegotiating
Yeah.
the deal in public.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm being quite vague here, is not to impact our ability to negotiate that.
Okay, so this gives you the authority to begin that process.
This will give us the ability to start moving forward with Regan on their end of things.
Okay.
But
Okay, questions have been asked and answered. All those in favor? We have a motion as well?
Motion,
No, we have a motion already on this.
aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. No nays, so that is it for that. Item C, enforcement and compliance.
committee met, no actions required of the board at this time. You want to talk about the summary of what we went over?
We just, requested a release for the resale of 167 Second Avenue, which is a building that was rehabbed by a developer who works with us quite frequently. Because the land bank had originally put stabilization funding into that building, it is restricted. And they're going to be selling it to a first-time home buyer, from what I've heard. So we're pretty excited about that. The release has been signed and is ready for pickup.
Underserved committees?
Yep, Underserved Communities Committee met. What we did was a little catch up on the last time the committee met, which was back in 2021. We went over the the draft of the policy that was proposed at that time. And what I did with the board is just review the key points of that draft policy versus our current practices. And the policy, while is in draft form, the practices exist in place here among the team in terms of our outreach and activities. But I know we want to get that committee back together again. I think we're at this point with that draft piece, if we have the committee meet again next month to decide if we want to take it forward and make it a full policy of the board or incorporate it into another policy.
Yeah.
That'll be
I had
the-
a conflict, so I'm trying to make it.
Yeah, I think that what I was pleased to see is that once we went through that and discussed our practices aligned with what the policy was saying.
So are we gonna formalize that policy since we're already doing it in practice, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why I think why don't we have that committee meet again next month? And then decide if there's any changes that you want to that policy that went out for this last meeting, you can send it out again and then take a look at it. But I didn't see anything that would necessarily change, but I have the wisdom of the full board to guide us.
We're not going into executive session, so
No need.
motion to adjourn,
So moved.
I move to unanimous consent.
unanimous
Okay.
consent. So at 6:13.
It's not our best, but it's pretty good.
And that's how I ended the show.